How's it going, Sneeples? So, in this final episode of the Iyslander series, I just came back from the this side Battle Hardened LA event hosted by the Arcane Games and Events. Very cool. They do an open series every month this year. They've done it for many years back, and I was able to top 8 in the Age event series. So I was very happy about that. So we're gonna go over that video of the top 8. I did lose this match, but I think it was a very well played match from both sides. And even though I lost, I think it's something cool to kind of go over and review. And so I'm basically going to commentate over my own loss here. So let's get into it and see what this is. So me as Iyslander versus Evan Bridges as Lexi. He's a very good player. I've actually faced him in the Pro Tour, and he's playing about that same list that I faced against him, which is a Lexi with, I'll spoil it right now, chest, or what is it? The sunken treasure chest deal. It's not a tunic, basically. It's the chest of the sunken treasure, which is able to move your arsenal if it's face down for one resource. And that is what Evan plays here, which is a very interesting card, a very spicy card, especially for Lexi. And that is what we have going on here. So I first want to give a quick shout out to the Arcane Games and Events series. The people running it, the casters, were awesome. I thought they did a very good job. If you want to see the original video and all the other top 8 matches that they do a great job. All respect to them. But as well as the event itself and Arcane Games and events, it's great. It was well ran, and I was very happy to see it. So we will put this on a little bit faster here, so that this can be a fairly quick video. And let's go 2 times speed. I think I'm a little slower on this video. It is top 8, so there's no time. And as an Iyslander, you do want to kind of take your time to think. So he was 3rd, I am 6th, so he decides for me to go first. And as Iyslander, I hate going first against Lexi. And the reason is because if I choose to do anything in specific, he will instant speed load the bow. And so because I didn't have, this might be going a little too fast, because I didn't have anything to really pressure him with, I just decided to pass the turn, and he was okay with that. Put a Winter's Bite in. I like Winter's Bite here against Lexi because Lexi is a very red heavy deck. Now he does pitch a blue here, which is pretty damn good because it gets away around my deal. But because of the Winter's Bite, he is not going to be attacking me with 2 arrows. Instead, I will only be getting hit with 1 arrow here because it takes 2 to load using a bow. And as you can maybe have saw from his hand, he did have a endless arrow, and that is the arrow I believe I see here. Now, Winter's Bite, I like the card, but I don't like the card, and the reason is because oftentimes I won't be able to Waning Moon after playing Winter's Bite, so I won't be able to get the 3 damage in. I have 2 D-Reacts in my hand here, so I'm trying to use that to kind of clean it up because my idea here is Coronet, Peak, and Arsenal. I want to disrupt Lexi as much as possible. I felt like I did a pretty good thing on this turn. I only had 1 arrow come at me. I beat a big one, but whatever. So using the Frosting, I hate that card. It's as you might have seen from our second video. So I used it here to pitch, and that's usually what it's there for, or blocking. All right. So I have Lexi on a 3-card hand in Arsenal. That's kind of where I need Lexi to be. I can't have Lexi be comfortable. That's for sure. He's going to use the chest here, which gives him his resource, frees up that arsenal, but it allows me to respond. Now I have a blue Aether Ice Vein in the arsenal, and I'm thinking here, is it better to respond now or should I wait? And honestly, what I felt was because he was getting the resource, he probably needed the resource. So I think it was going to be a 1 arrow turn regardless. And so I chose to do it here to ensure that it was going to be a 1 arrow turn, and for him not to have instant reload, basically. So he's able to AB some of that. And then, yeah, coming in for 6. Yeah. And you might be wondering, you know, and because I was just now, even though this is the second time I'm saying this, he chose to instant speed put in the card, which is kind of something I kind of expected. So he didn't actually have to discard a card, but I was able to get a bit of damage in. Now he did 3 of a kind, holding priority, choosing Art of War. Me doing anything in response to Art of War wasn't going to do too much here. At this point, I believe I have a blue Aether Hail in the arsenal. So I choose to let this go off because giving him a Frostbite here isn't going to do anything. And if he's going to have a big turn, I want cards to block with. Iyslander is a very block heavy deck. So this is obviously a great, start to the turn. What I'm thinking about here is I see that he has Bulls, Ice Bracers, and Snaps. So I can't let this hit, because if it hits, this can be, just such a harsh turn. So I have to stop that there. Now he comes in with a Bolton Shot, which will let him get additional Lexi load. And I just didn't want that to happen either. So I didn't want more than 3 arrows coming at me this turn, especially with Art of War and 3 of a kind. So I'm trying to mitigate that as much as possible, and that's what I do here. And so I only take 1 arrow. It is a drill shot, so it's not even the worst. I do lose a bit of armor. I lose some life, but it could have been a lot worse, especially with the extra resource he had. It could have been, a infecting shot, or just, something else. Okay. So here we just had a full block, had a full give it out, and then basically just pass it back. And that's what we gotta do. That's okay with Lexi. It's not the worst thing. He reveals a Rain Razor, so he wasn't gonna shoot more than 1 arrow anyways. But blocking out the Bolton Shot wasn't the worst thing, honestly. Okay, so infecting shot. He's gonna come in with it. Now, way I see it is right now, I'm trying to think, can I stop his turn from happening? And really, I think the big answer is probably not. He has 2 cards in his hand. I can give him a Frostbite, but he still has 1 floating, and in response, he can load as well. This also, it's a Rain Razor turn, so I kind of want more cards to block with than trying to stop him. So I block 6 here, basically forcing him to play it. Sometimes that's just how you have to do it. Sometimes you just gotta force it, because having them sit on it until they have a 3 of a kind turn is obviously the worst thing possible. So now he's coming in for quite a bit here, and here this is where I'm really thinking. As you can see, I have a Fiendless Fighting Spirit and a blue card in hand. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing the mental math. If I block with these 2 cards, I'm basically blocking for 6, and he's basically coming in for 8 because that's a Searing Shot that'll deal 1 additional damage. So I'm blocking for 6 and I'm taking 2 damage. So that's what I'm going through my head. Is that worth it? Otherwise, and then I have the Blood Rot Pox too, so I'm actually taking 4 damage. Otherwise, I take his 8 and then I come in with my own 8, right? So that's what I choose to do after heavy consideration, because I do need him to go down in life. And I felt like, the on hit was really just 1 life. I feel like it was just a little bit better to attack here. If you get into this point where you're constantly blocking with Lexi, then then you become in a no-win situation. But sometimes that's just how it goes, and I understand that. But here we are, we're at 9 life below. That's a comfortable range. It doesn't always feel comfortable, but it is a comfortable range. All right, so he starts off with a premeditate. At this point, I'm just like, yeah, it's fine. He reveals another Rain Razor, so that's pretty gnarly. And here he pitches a red card. Now, I could choose to use one of my blue cards in hand to play the Aether Hail, but again, this is a potentially Rain Razor turn, and I want to have as much cards as possible to block with. So I choose to do it here because he pitched a red card, so this Frostbite I know is going to do more. And he had to end up pitching a Lightning Press in order to play the Frostbite, or the Imp there. So now I have the option to block here, and that's exactly what I do, because I don't want him to have a double arsenal, not with Rain Razor. And then I want to have a card in the arsenal that I can use to disrupt, block, whatever need be. So we just pass here. We're not going to deal the extra 3 damage from the Arcane. Alright, so this is a second Art of War. And I'm thinking about if I need to respond now. But he has one card in hand, one floating. Plays a Premeditate. I'm going to respond here. This is with the Polar Blast. It's basically a free card draw. He has no cards in hand. No resource floating, I should say. And this does just become a 1 attack turn, which is exactly what I wanted it to be. Because I wanted to, with an Art of War, I wanted to have, the least amount of damage possible. Now you see I have a Blizzard in hand, and I don't like to put the Blizzards in the arsenal just because I can always just keep them in hands. So I'm trying to think, is there a way that I can, what's the most efficient way out here? Because this is only a drill shot. The on-hit isn't something that bugs me all that much. The Premeditate on-hit, it's a little bit more something that I don't like. Only because, again, he has a Rain Razor. It's coming in for 9, so I can block it fairly easy here if I have the resources to do so. And I do, however, I only have 8 block in my hand, so I'm going to have to use the gloves in order to fully block it. And I didn't particularly want to do that. I wanted to get in a bit of arcane damage, get him down to 25. Then he's only 4 life ahead of me, which is a very comfortable range to be in. But unfortunately, I had to use the resource there. So I just arsenaled the Blizzard because I couldn't block with it. And now we get to see kind of what happens. So he starts off with a Falcon Wing. He's going to go ahead and swing with it here. Alright, so I declare no blocks. He chooses no reaction, so I go ahead and sink and choose not to sink. Honestly, I think maybe looking at this now, maybe I didn't actually have to block the sink, or block the Falcon Wing. I think that is the arrow that just doesn't have an on-hit at all, and so had I not blocked it, I might have been more okay with that. Then I could have blocked this Searing Shot, but it is coming in for 5, so I would have still had to put another card in front of it if I fully wanted to block it. And that's what we had to do here. We had to fully block it out. Alright, so I'm still trying to get a foothold, and really what I'm looking for here is Channel Lake Frigid, because I'm not too low on life below him, right? So if I can get a Channel Lake Frigid, I can help turn the tides here. Now, this is exactly what I did not want to see. Here we have the 3 of a kind, and there's the Rain Razors in the arsenal. Now, I couldn't threaten a lot because I was just blocking out damage, so eventually this was going to happen, right? Alright, so he's coming in with 5 go again. This is huge because if he uses the Rain Razors, then he gets the free reload. Now, luckily for me, I have a D-React in hand. I also have a Blizzard in the arsenal. When he has 4 cards, though, Blizzard doesn't do much. So I'm not trying to use Blizzard quite yet. I'm trying to use Blizzard in a way to stop the turn. Okay, so here he recognizes that I more than likely have a D-React. Because that's a questionable block for sure. But I don't want to over-invest in this, If if I block 9 here, I'm just going to take a massive amount of damage. So that's why I want to block exactly 7, because that's exactly what the bolt and shot would go into. He thinks about it a good while, and he chooses to just let the damage happen as is, which is actually pretty preferable for me, because him not doing it on a 3 of a kind turn just kind of basically means that he's not going to get the value on these other arrows coming in hotter. Okay, so 5 go again here. He has 2 cards in hand, 1 floating. So now I'm just thinking, does a blizzard stop enough? You know, what does a blizzard do? And I go ahead and use it here. This is where I want it. He gets the frostbite. He gets a blizzard. I basically want this to be the last arrow of the turn, because my thought process here is that maybe he will use the Rain Razor, even if he didn't get it off the deal. He lets the go again not exist anymore. So now I'm trying to think, do I want him to have the arsenal? I choose to say no blocks here, I believe. And that's exactly what happens. He gets to have the trigger. He gets to have 3 cards, and we'll show why. So right now, I'm 14 life below, but I'm about to come in with an attack. Okay. Alright. So I come in with a Command and Conquer, which strengthens 2 arsenal cards. So I plan to have him block with at least 2 cards. Now, I didn't notice at the time, but now looking at his hand, he has very bad blocks, which makes sense on why he just has to take this and lose his arsenal. So it was a gamble that paid off quite a bit. And now I'm 8 life below, and I am actually counting this as the game's going on. But I do have an arsenal, and there is what I've been waiting for this entire time, which is a Channel Lake Frigid. So this is 5 go again, and I'm going to go ahead and play this Blizzard from hand. He pays for it with the Rain Razor nonetheless. So now I'm like, okay, you know, what am I expecting to have? I'm thinking that's a 0 cost. I believe it's an arrow, and this is another time that I might have just made another mistake, because I really was thinking more of an arrow, and I didn't really think Codex, right? But my idea for a turn was to basically block with 3 cards, put the Channel Lake Frigid in the arsenal, and then play it on his turn, get the tempo back. Had this happened, I think there's a very good chance I could have came back and won this game. But this Codex of Frailty comes out, forces me to have an arsenal, which I don't want. And now I'm looking at having to discard a card, and I have no way to put the Channel Lake Frigid in the arsenal. So I discard the other card. I don't want to discard Channel Lake Frigid for whatever reason. He comes in with a 4 attack arrow. I just take it. It's nothing, that I can't take, which I'm actually pretty happy that it wasn't a endless arrow there. And I choose the E-Strike over the Command Conquer because he has a trench. He can just move it. So the Command Conquer doesn't necessarily drain the arsenal. And this allows me to have an arsenal. Now, my arsenal ends up being a red card. It ends up being in case, which is a little unlucky, but not the worst thing. I do draw a Channel Lake Frigid again. So here I'm thinking, okay, in case is 0 cost, if I can just hold on to the Channel Lake Frigid, block with 3 cards this turn, which seems like near impossible, and then be able to play Channel Lake Frigid, we're good. Now, I'm in a bit of a rough spot here, and the reason is because in order for Channel Lake Frigid to have the easiest time to stay around, I still need Coronet Peak to be around, so I can't use that necessarily to block. I'm almost thinking about using the Tunic here to block. I'm just trying to figure out how I can efficiently prevent damage. And so I'm going to block 6 here because blocking 6 means I'm blocking 7. He chooses to go again, which, expected to see. Now we're coming in for 4, which is basically 5. I take that, which, puts me down. It's getting deadly for sure. It's getting real icy. Now, this is a sedation shot, which basically says, okay, you can't have a channel lake frigid. And I'm thinking, okay, I guess I'm going to give him this. And that means that, like, now channel lake frigid is going to be a bit harder to keep around, but maybe there's a chance. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe there's a chance that I can keep it around. He uses the bullseye bracer here to get his last arrow in and shoot it. And this is that big arrow turn that I just did not want to have happen, but here it is. And now this is something that I can't just throw the tunic in front of. I had to block the last card in my hand, which is, of course, a channel lake frigid. So I'm in a very, very rough spot here. I am way below the life lead, and I cannot respond. I've seen a lot already. I've seen all the 3 of a kinds, and that's what I'm checking here. Seen all the 3 of a kinds. I've seen 2 green razors, 1 got pitched, and then I'm seeing the Art of Wars. This is the last Art of War that he plays on this turn, or he will play it, I guess. All right, so he's gonna come in with the yellow. I choose to give Blizzard. He chooses to pay for it, so I'm like, okay, great. So I have to attack. Or I have to block. So I go ahead and use the tunic here to block as efficiently as possible, and I block for 4. I understand that I'm dead to like anything like a lightning press or a rain raise or whatever, but luckily for me, he just passes. So all I can do is come in for 7 with E-Strike. Having 2 reds in hand and the Encase, I couldn't do much with it. I wanted to use Metal Fab tokens right there, so got to do that. It's a rough spot right now. I think I saw the extent of his deck. I saw the power of his deck so far, and it's got me down to this life point. And here we go, his last Art of War. So at this point, I don't have good blocks in hand. A lot of that stuff blocks for 2, so I just have to kind of go for it. And at this point, had he been playing the Fiendl's Fight or Fiendl's Spring Tunic, at this point I can lock him out of this turn, and that is exactly what I would look to do. I would lose my life lead, but I would be able to get 3 damage in, plus another 3 damage with Waning Moon, and be able to get him down to 5, and then have an arsenal. So that would have been pretty damn good. Well, he'd probably only take 4. I'd get him down to 7. However, he has sunken treasure chest, and so because of that, he is able to keep that arsenal open. And instead of being able to stop him and time walk him, he's able to just go on and attack. And that's exactly what he does for 6 total. And that's all I have is to block. And I just go for the Waning Moon. And that is how that game went. It was a pretty rough game. I went through quite a bit of his deck. It was an arrow, as you can see. It was an infecting shot that was in the arsenal. So had I been able to freeze Lexi's ability, he'd only be able to come in with that infecting shot. I could have blocked that a little bit easier and move on. But alas, that did not happen, and that was the game. So there is a pretty good game. I think we both played very well. Like I said, there's maybe a few things I could have changed to make things a little easier. Obviously, when you're in the moment, you don't necessarily see everything. But I feel like that was pretty good, and that's why I wanted to share it with you guys. So even though I lost, I think it goes to show that you can still play a tight game, and that game did get away from me. Unfortunately, I did see the power of Lexi, and that is just what happens sometimes. You can still have a shot, right? So thanks guys for watching. I appreciate all that. First off, inspired me to make this series. Iyslander is one of my favorite heroes for sure. And now with Oldham LL, she probably is my favorite hero. And I'm very happy to be able to share all that I could with you guys, and I hope that this helps out bunch. But if you guys have been watching all the series, and if you're watching even right now to the very end, thank you. Thank you so much. Till next time, guys, keep on fabbing.